everyone, it's Carrie, and today's video is super special because it's my first group collaboration. This collaboration was hosted by Doll Motion, and the collaborators include Kosomolsky Dolls, Cairo's Workshop, Characters Factory, My Minimun, Dollumentary, Vanny, Doll's Brand New Look, and the Doll Fairy. It was such a fun time collaborating with this group. Everyone was super nice and supportive of each other's work, not to mention their incredible talent here. I was blown away with the other dolls, and the links to their videos and the description are in the description box below. Check out their YouTube channel and subscribe. You won't be disappointed. So the theme for the collab was summer, and as you can see by the group photo I showed at the beginning of this video, everyone interpreted summer a bit differently, which made the project even more fun. It was so fun to see what everybody else came up with. I initially decided I'd make a Celtic goddess of summer, but I've recently been working on a line of fairy dolls and wanted to give it a fairy twist, so I made a summer fairy goddess. I also recently worked with some white dolls and changed their skin tone to a pale peach, so that's what I envisioned for this one. Because I knew I was going to use a blonde and red wig, I wanted a pale skin doll to go with it. So I started out using a Spectra Vandergeist. Here, using some cotton pads and some micro brushes, I'm using pure acetone to remove the face paint from the face and head. Now I'm cleaning up the doll with an X-Acto knife, and I like to take off the little numbers and letters from the arms and clean up the seams a little bit. However, I did end up, because I couldn't get the coloring right on this doll so that it wouldn't chip, I decided to use an apple white Ever After High doll for the body later on, and it worked out really well. So I used pan pastels, and I'm using a peach color to start with. Actually, this is more of a super light tan color. And I'm going in with some brushes that I shortened. I used these tiny round brushes and cut them down to like a stencil brush, and that helps me do the shading in the tight areas. And so I'm going in and doing some contouring as if I was putting on makeup. And once I do a couple of layers, I'll spray with Mr. Super Clear to save my work, and then do another couple of layers. Now I'm going in with this darker peach, and like I said, doing the contouring as if I was doing my makeup. I'm using a variety of brushes, but some of the softer ones that I'm using, like the white one there, is actually a Wet n Wild makeup brush that I found at the Dollar Tree. It works really well for shading. Using cotton swabs really helps me blend it out as well. So now I'm going in with my Derwent watercolor pencil in, I think this is chocolate brown, and trying to define the shape of the eyes. And then I lay in the waterline with a crimson red Derwent watercolor pencil. So to go with the coloring of the outfit I made and the hair, I wanted to give her like an orangey, bright, summery look. I wanted to choose like colors of the sun, gold and orange and yellow. So I chose this orange, just a bright orange, like orange color. And I'm blending it in the bottom lip with some yellow and white to give it like a highlight on the bottom lip. Once I lay that out with pan pastel, I go back in with some orange watercolor pencils to define the shape. At this point, I've sealed it again with at least another coat or two of Mr. Super Clear, and so I'm adding more layers. I'm going in with this orangey brown color to kind of matches the hair color that you'll see later in the photos, and adding the eyebrows. I'm using a small brush. This was a very small liner brush that I cut down to make a teeny tiny stencil-like brush. And I'm defining that shape as well with some Derwent watercolor pencils. Spectra is one of my very favorite to customize. I just love her face shape, and I like trying different eye shapes on her. I'm going in with some blush. This is like a red, just a red blush, and I'm actually using another Wet n Wild makeup brush. This is like a angled eyeshadow brush, I think, and it works super well for blush because it prevents too much from going on there, and it just kind of adds it like you're adding your own blush, just in miniature form. So for the eyes, I'm using this Derwent Metallics water-soluble pencil, and it just gives it a little sparkle and a pretty intense color. I decided to make her pupils like a coppery bronze brown color, and the rest of the eye like an orange and yellow sort of. My favorite Derwent watercolor pencil lately is a chocolate brown. It's almost black. It's super dark, but it helps with helps define shapes without going too dark. I'm just loving that pencil. It's my favorite. So now I'm giving her a little bit of sparkly eyeshadow using some yellow and orange pearlescent pan pastels. And I'm just blending those in as if I was doing my own eyeshadow. After giving her another couple of coats of Mr. Super Clear, I go back and do the highlights with white. And now I'm just defining the shape a little bit better. Once I'm happy with how everything looks, the last things I do is add the eyelashes and more highlights on the lips. And then I'll add some highlights in the eyes with some acrylic white paint. And then I'll give it a final few coats, probably 3 or 4 coats of Mr. Super Clear. And then I will gloss the eyes with some Liquitex Gloss Varnish. And on this one I decided to leave the lips not glossed. Instead I used some FX shimmer powder in like a bronze color or solar, actually I used the solar gold because of course it's summer, so I wanted to use something called solar. So here I've curated a number of my laces and little sample fabrics to put together a costume for her. And this is how I get started on my outfits. I just kind of collect things in the colors that I'm using and go from there. So I just collected a lot of things that reminded me of the sun. And then I had these little samples of some gold vinyl, and I'm using a pair of shorts that I made previously as sort of a pattern to cut out the shorts. I'm going to make a short and halter set. I'm giving her a skirt, which I believe I've already made at the point of this video, but I would like to have them wear a pair of shorts underneath the skirts. So I'm cutting out the second piece the same size as the first, and then cutting it down in the front because I want that to be the front piece. And then I connect them good side to good side and stitch them up, trying to determine what kind of gold to use, and I found this light tan color that seemed to match better than the actual gold thread that I had. So I usually start at the bottom and sew that so I can kind of fit it on the doll and make sure the sides are the right width. And then I stitch up the sides and turn it right side out. And then once I've done that, I just give it a final fitting and make sure that I don't need to make it a little bit tighter. And these seem to fit perfectly. Now for the halter, I had a very small piece, but it was just enough to make a little top for her. It's summer, so she can wear a bikini. And I just hold it firmly to the top of the breast, and then I snip off underneath to make little notches that I can stitch together to make it more fitted. And then I cut it down in the back and add a snap. And there she's got a little summer tube top, or a fitted corset. So I decided to make this video a little bit longer and show you how I made the wings. So I used this 20 gauge copper, or I guess it's more of a bronze color wire, and I had just enough left for the wings, so I folded it in half and cut it down. So one side for each wing. So without using a pattern, I just kind of molded it into the shape of wings. And then once I finished the first one, I used it as a pattern for the other side. So this artist wire from, I believe I got this at like Michael's hobby or craft store. And it's firm enough to hold its shape, but it also is easy enough to mold without needing a pair of pliers. And here I'm just molding it, like I said, the same shape as the other side so they match. Then I had these little charms or blanks and decided to pop some holes in it to use as the center of the wing. So I made 4 holes, one for each of the ends of the wire. So I sort of bend the wire up and connect it to the base. There I'm realizing that it would be more stable if I connected the end pieces around the outside. And I just sort of twist them around. And twist them like a twist tie to keep them more secure. And cut off the excess. And then I do the same to the other side. And once I've twist tied both sides, then I twist them together. And I try to twist them down tight enough so that there aren't any rough edges sticking out, and smash them down with the pliers. So from here, for the body of the wings, I'm using this really pretty pleated lace, and I'm just cutting it to the size of the large wing. And then I'll stitch it on the wing and cut off the excess. And there it is. And then I just do the same for the other 3 wings. And it comes out to look like this. And then I'll add a little piece of fabric to cover up the back and a little gem at the end. And then I'll also add a magnet to the corset top and a magnet to the wings, and that's how they connect. So here I'm making the skirt, and I'm just finding some embellishments and little samples of different textiles and just doing some little stitching. This is the fun part. I like to just add little embellishments and find a balance to how I put everything together, and just add what I think looks interesting and sticking with the color theme. I'll add little charms and little collages of different textiles. I added a couple little bells to the wings, as well as a few little beads. And using the base of the skirt as the pleated fabric, and then I just stitch it all together and then added a belt to the top at the end. It was so fun putting together all these little bits. The orange fabric there was, I dyed it with some Tim Holtz ink and heat set it. And then I took my grommets or eyelets and just added a few eyelets here and there. Some yellow and some in copper or bronze. I just like there to be so much interest in these skirts. This is kind of the method that I use to develop the line of fairies that I'm currently creating. And just, I spent a lot of time just adding little bits and pieces so that there's just so much to look at. It's very fun. Here I'm just adding a little piece of wire, gold wire, to add a little whimsical interest. And little bells at the end of some of the pieces. And here is a little bead. It's a fabric bead that I learned to make by watching Amity Bloom. She's a journal artist, so check that page out. And there's the magnet that I added to the back of the corset. I used a wire, I connected some wire with some thread to give it some stability and added the magnet at the top. And the magnets that I use are like super strong magnets, so that stays on pretty well. It connects beautifully. At this point I noticed that the back wasn't finished, so I added a little piece of fabric and a gem. So I hope you enjoyed this video. As I mentioned, please check out the videos of the other collaborators in the description box below. They did some amazing work, and I'd like to thank all of them for allowing me to be a part of this collaboration. It was super fun, and I'd love to do it again sometime. Also, this doll will likely be up in my Etsy shop soon, and the link to my shop is in the description box below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and thank you for watching. Bye!